The £10,000 threshold for auto-enrollment excludes many low-paid and part-time women workers from building up a workplace pension. Auto-enrollment is a scheme that obliges employers to enroll their eligible workers into a qualifying workplace pension and pay at least the minimum level of contributions. However, not everyone is eligible for auto-enrollment. Workers need to earn at least £10,000 a year from a single employer to be automatically enrolled into a pension. This is called the earnings trigger. The earnings trigger has been frozen at £10,000 since 2014, which means that its value has decreased in real terms due to inflation. According to the Department for Work and Pensions, DWP, this has resulted in thousands more savers being automatically enrolled into workplace pensions. However, this also means that many workers who earn less than £10,000 a year are excluded from auto-enrollment. These workers can opt in to their employer's pension scheme if they earn between £6,240 and £10,000 a year, but they will not receive a mandatory employer contribution. If they earn less than £6,240 a year, they can still join a pension scheme, but they will not get any employer contribution at all. This affects many low-paid and part-time workers, especially women. According to the Trades Union Congress, TUC, women are more likely than men to work in low-paid sectors, such as retail, hospitality, and social care. They are also more likely to work part-time or have multiple jobs that do not individually meet the earnings trigger. The TUC estimates that around 4.6 million workers are missing out on auto-enrollment because of the earnings trigger, and 3.6 million of them are women. This means that many women are losing out on the opportunity to build up a decent retirement income and reduce their pension gap with men. The TUC and other campaigners have called for the removal of the £10,000 earnings trigger and the extension of auto-enrollment to all workers who earn above the lower earnings limit of £6,240. They argue that this would help millions of low-paid and part-time workers, especially women, to save more for their retirement and benefit from employer contributions. The DWP has said that it will consider the impact of the earnings trigger on different groups of workers as part of its wider review of automatic enrollment in the mid-2020s. However, some critics have said that this is too late and that urgent action is needed now to help women's retirement prospects. One of the biggest challenges facing women in retirement is the gender pensions gap. This is the difference between the average annual income of men and women in retirement. According to a report by Prospect, the gender pensions gap in the UK is 40.5%, meaning women have annual income £7,100 lower than men on average in retirement. This is much higher than the gender pay gap, which is 15.5% in what causes this huge gap. There are several factors that contribute to it, such as women are more likely to take career breaks or work part-time to care for children or elderly relatives, which reduces their pension contributions and savings. Women tend to earn less than men over their lifetime, which means they have less money to save for retirement and less employer pension contributions. Women have lower state pension entitlements than men because they often have fewer qualifying years of national insurance contributions due to their caring responsibilities or lower earnings. Women live longer than men on average, which means they need more money to sustain their living standards in retirement and face higher costs of care and health services. These factors combine to create a vicious cycle of inequality and poverty for many women in retirement. The gender pensions gap is not only unfair, but also harmful to the economy and society. It means that women have less financial security and independence in retirement, less spending power and consumer demand, and more reliance on state benefits and charity. How can we close this gap? There are no easy solutions, but some possible steps include raising awareness and education about the importance of saving for retirement and the options available for women, improving the state pension system to recognize the value of unpaid care work and provide more support for low-income women, increasing the minimum auto-enrollment contribution rates and expanding the eligibility criteria to include more women in low-paid or part-time work, encouraging employers to offer more flexible working arrangements and equal pay and opportunities for women, supporting women to access financial advice and guidance tailored to their needs and circumstances. The gender pensions gap is a serious issue that affects millions of women in the UK. It is not only a matter of justice, but also a matter of economic and social well-being. By taking action now, we can ensure that women have a fairer and brighter future in retirement. The gender pensions gap is the difference in pension income between men and women. It is a serious problem that affects millions of women in the UK, especially those who are retired or approaching retirement age. In this video, we will explore the main causes of this gap and why it matters for women's financial security and well-being. One of the main causes of the gender pensions gap is the gender pay gap. This is the difference in average earnings between men and women. Women tend to earn less than men for various reasons, such as discrimination, occupational segregation, and career interruptions. The gender pay gap means that women have less income to save for their retirement and also receive lower employer contributions to their workplace pensions. According to a report by Prospect, the gender pay gap reduces women's pension wealth by 28% on average. Another major cause of the gender pensions gap is the unequal division of caring responsibilities. Women are much more likely than men to take time out of work or work part-time to look after children, elderly relatives, or other dependents. This reduces their earnings and their pension contributions, and also affects their eligibility for state pension benefits. For example, women who earn less than £10,000 a year are not automatically enrolled into a workplace pension scheme, which means they miss out on employer contributions and tax relief. The TUC estimates that 1.4 million women fall into this category. Moreover, women who take career breaks may not qualify for the full state pension, which requires 35 years of national insurance contributions. The TUC also found that women born in the early 1950s have private pension incomes around 45% lower than men. A third cause of the gender pensions gap is the historical differences in national insurance. Until 2016, women could claim a state pension based on their husband's national insurance record, which meant they did not have to make their own contributions. However, this also meant they did not build up their own entitlements and were dependent on their husband's income and marital status. The new state pension system introduced in 2016 requires everyone to have at least 10 years of national insurance contributions to receive any state pension and 35 years to receive the full amount. This change has affected many women who had relied on their husband's record and who now face a lower state pension income than they expected. The government estimates that it will take until 2041 for the state pension gap between men and women to close. These are some of the main causes of the gender pensions gap in the UK. They reflect the structural inequalities and barriers that women face in the labor market and society at large. The gender pensions gap has serious consequences for women's financial security and well-being in later life. It increases their risk of poverty, social exclusion, and reliance on benefits or charity. It also limits their choices and opportunities to enjoy a dignified and fulfilling retirement. That is why we need to take action to close the gender pensions gap and ensure that all women can benefit from a decent income in retirement. In the next section, we will discuss some of the possible solutions and recommendations to achieve this goal.